is the MasterBow Maker, and I love this machine because it just does a lot for us. But I'm using a number 9 satin. They also sell a plastic ribbon that you can use, and it's a lot less expensive, comes in a lot larger roll. I'm using the satin because I cannot get this rust in the plastic ribbon that they sell. Typically I use the white plastic and then a couple satins with it. So I'm using 3 different ribbons today. They're all number 9, and you can see they all go through this middle slit that's for number 9, because you can use a number 5 ribbon here, 9, or you could actually use a number 40s in that bottom slit. So once I got the ribbon set up and ready to go, I'm gonna come over here. I wanna make a 7-inch bow, and for that, I'm gonna set my arms, and you do that by pulling here. You set it to 7 and 7 on each side. You also want to set this little donut, I don't know what the real term is, but this little donut, you wanna set it on 9 because we're using a number 9 ribbon here. And then the same thing on this other arm, make sure that it is set to number 9 as well. All right, so once you have that set up, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your ribbon here, and there's a slit in this arm. You're gonna slide that in there like that, and then you're actually gonna go ahead and pull that across to this other arm. Now this one's actually a little bit too long, so I'm gonna pull this back because I just want it to be right about an inch from that arm. Okay, and that's what you're gonna have set up. Obviously make sure that the ribbon is placed against that donut there. If you're wondering how I came up with those numbers and how I kind of know some of that information, if you've got a MasterBow Maker, you're gonna notice that if you're making a 7-inch bow, you're gonna come over here and you're gonna set the arms to 7 and 7. It recommends using a number 9 ribbon, and it says you're gonna use 6 yards. I don't think it's quite that much. I'll show you what I mean. And then since we're using 3 different types of ribbon, or 3 different ribbons, you come down here and it tells you to crank the machine 4 times. I'm actually gonna do that 1 less because we're not making a bow, we're making the loops for a mum. Okay, so again, I've got 3 number 9 ribbons on the ribbon setup here. I actually changed these to be number 7s because we're gonna make a 7-inch bow instead of a 6. We're gonna pull our ribbon across to the second handle right here, and because we're making a 7-inch bow, we're actually only gonna still crank this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Take my clothespin and hold it there. I'm gonna put 3 sets of tails, so I'm gonna pull it a little longer because this is gonna be kind of a mum, and then that's my second set of tails. And then this is my 3rd set of tails. Once you have that, you're gonna pull it across, just like this. Okay, and you've cut through. If it moves on you, just make sure you cut all the way through. Just to recap, we did this at 7 and orange. All right, so once you're done and you've twisted all the way around, you're gonna have somewhat of a bow, and you're like, oh, that doesn't really look like a bow. Well, you don't want it to be a bow anyway. You're gonna want these to serve as your loops for your mum. So that center really isn't gonna do too much. So what I do is I actually try to make room just like this, and our flower is gonna go right in this spot, and I'll show you how that looks in a second. So I found that it's pretty easy. I use a chenille stem, a pipe cleaner, and I'll shove it all the way through the center of my flower. I used to just tie a little knot in it. Now I just kind of wrap it around the side of it. I found that it's just a little easier because sometimes the knots fall out. And now you've got your flower, and it's just fine even though you tied it on the side like this. I did wrap it around a couple different times to get that to stay sturdy. Okay, so back to our bow that we've got kind of partitioned out here. I'm gonna take the flower. I'm gonna obviously separate my pipe cleaner, and all I'm gonna do is put that directly in here. Now before I secure it, I'm gonna pull it, just kind of make sure that the loops are kind of even on each side. I can still pull and adjust these, but what I wanna do on the back side, I want to take it and tightly pull it and twist. And then I'm actually going to use all 4 of these pipe cleaners later on, and you'll see. So these are 2 tails from making the bow, 2 tails from the flower itself. Okay. Your next step, if you'll remember, we did 3 sets of tails instead of your traditional 2. So your next step is to come in and you would have the students fan their ribbons for the tails out. I come underneath here and staple across, and I put plenty of staples to where they're not going to move, to where now you've got all your ribbons. You can put them in whatever order you want, but that's the base to your mum. So once you have these streamers done, you can add larger ribbons or smaller ribbons or specialty ribbons. For the purpose of today, I'm going to come in here and we're going to add a couple of these specialty ribbons. It's just a football ribbon that I picked up from the wholesaler. You can have these pre-cut, if you're in a hurry. Obviously, if you're not in a hurry, then, have your students cut them themselves. But staple those in there. You got that finished. Now, I use a ribbon printer here at Madison. I love it. I think it's like the best thing ever. But we print our own ribbons. And so we've got this FFA emblem one. You could have kids customize their own with their own name. For the purpose of this video, all I did was come in and I printed another one that said Homecoming 2020 on there. Add that in, and you're almost ready to go. I'll show you the next step. So the next step is to kind of take this hot mess of the loops that are around here and put them into kind of a stable position. So on this one, I'm using a 4-inch mum back. If you're doing a larger mum, you obviously would need the larger size. So on the back side, what you'll notice is you can come in here and start moving and repositioning all of your loops to where, and obviously look at them from the front side. I get those come in here and just pinned on, but I make sure that I use careful when you're doing that, but once you get that glued, you're pretty much finished.